everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room. Today we are going to talk about and learn multiple ways to make the most versatile quilt block ever created. Stay tuned. So are you asking yourself, what is the most versatile quilt block? I'm here to tell you it is the half square triangle. Now, don't go anywhere. Sometimes the half square triangle can be a little scary, but there's no need for it to be scary. When you have found a method to make half square triangles that works for you, then you won't be uncomfortable with it. They won't be scary, and you will love making blocks using half square triangles. Now, first we're going to go over the tried and true way of making a half square triangle. This is the way that we've made them at least since the rotary cutter came into existence. The standard way of creating a half square triangle block is starting with a square. In this particular instance, I am using a 5-inch square or charm squares. So what we do with our square is we are going to draw a line from one corner to another corner. We're just going to take a regular ruler. I have just a regular pencil. You can use a pen, you can use a Frixion pen, you can use whatever you want. We are going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of this line. Once you have sewn on each side of this center line, you are going to take your ruler. You are going to line it up with the line on the center that does not have any stitching, and you are going to cut. And here you have 2 half square triangle units. Now see how quick and easy that is? And speaking of learning techniques, I want to thank today's sponsor, Craftsy. Craftsy is for everything creative. In the class that Aurora Cisneros taught, she showed us how to make half square triangles with a triangle ruler. If you are enjoying this half square triangle tutorial so far, you will find all kinds of classes to take on Craftsy. You can learn multiple ways to make half square triangles. You can even branch out into quilting, knitting, sewing, baking. The options are endless. Now here is the exciting part. If you are one of the first 1,000 people to click on the link below, you will get a 1-year premium membership to Craftsy for $1.49. I can tell you that the class that I took on half square triangles, that was worth more than $1.49. So I am looking forward to another 364 days of classes. You can too. Remember, be one of the first 1,000 people to click on the link below, and you will get a 1-year premium membership to Craftsy for $1.49. This is for new members only. So don't miss out. Check out the link in the description below. Now, you have what are called dog ears on either side when you do it this way. So you can just cut off those dog ears, and your block is ready to go. Now, I have other ways to make half square triangles, so don't go anywhere. A couple of tips that I will give you. If you want your half square triangles to be extra precise. Cut your squares a 1/2 inch larger than is necessary, and you can cut down your half square triangles to size. That way, if your seam isn't just perfect, your half square triangle will be. Use chain piecing. Chain piecing is an excellent way to get through your half square triangles more quickly. When you're making half square triangles, if you want your design to stand out, use light and dark fabrics, and that way when you're making your designs, the differentiation between the two colors will make your pattern pop. So you're probably wondering why I say this is the most versatile block. A few years ago, I had a mystery block of the month, and it was all about half square triangles. So I'm going to show you some of the half square triangle blocks that we made, just so that you can see how versatile the half square triangle really is. Here is the first one. There is a pinwheel in the middle, and it is surrounded by half square triangles. Here is another one. Now I know this one has a name, but it is not coming to me right away. Maybe you can tell me in the comments below. Isn't that a pretty block? And as you can see, we're using red and blue and cream, so the design stands out. Now here is another pinwheel block, and the pinwheels seem to go even further out with the way the half square triangles are arranged. Here is a square and a square. You could even do this one on point. Here is an extra giant pinwheel. This is one of my favorites. Another square in a square. And this looks like a pinwheel in a square. Now you can just take 4 pinwheels and put them all together. Here is a star. And here is the same star, just using different colors actually. Here is the same star, just using different colors in my block. So as you can see, the blocks that you can create with these half square triangles are amazing. Now stick around, because not only are the blocks amazing, but the patterns that you can create on your whole quilt using your half square triangles, it's even as cool, if not more cool, than the blocks. I showed you how we could make a half square triangle block out of a 5-inch square. Now I want to show you how we can make half square triangles using a large square. You know that I think more is more. Actually, in this case, maybe less is more. So I have a 16-inch square piece of fabric. If I get another 16-inch square piece of fabric, I can make 32 3.5-inch half square triangle blocks. Let me show you how. So here I have a 16-inch square piece of fabric. I'm going to take the one that I just showed you a minute ago and place it right sides together with this 16-inch square. Now, I need to find the halfway point, which would be 8 inches. Actually, I'm going to use this ruler. Okay. I'm going to butt this ruler up against this ruler where I measure 8 inches. And I'm going to use my Fix-On pen to draw a line. Oops, maybe my Fix-On pen isn't, there we go. It is not wanting to cooperate. Okay, then I'm going to measure 8 inches. Make sure this is straight. I'm going to go ahead and put this on this line. And I'm going to draw There we go. Okay. So here I have a T. Now, I'm going to measure from corner to corner. Whoops. Let's make sure that crosses my T. I might have to fix my T there. Okay. Okay, so I've got another line there. Okay, so here is where this crosses. So I'm going to kind of correct this line here. All right. So now I've got a line this way. I need to make this a little darker. Okay. Now I need to, in these individual quadrants, make another diagonal line. Okay, this will go this way. That one will go that way. And one more. All right, we are ready to sew. Normally, I do not use pins. However, in this case, we do not want to sew along this line or this line. So I'm going to put pins along both of those lines so that that is a reminder to me not to sew. First, I'm going to have to find some pins. So I will put a pin here and here, and here, and here, as a reminder, because I have sewn on either side of those before, and you know, I don't want to have to rip out any seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam along this side of the line, along this side of the line, on both sides of this line, on both sides of this line, on both sides of this line, both sides of this line, both sides of this line, and both sides of that line. So usually what I do, well, you know what? Let me take you to the sewing machine and show you. I try to make a game out of raising my presser foot as little as possible. So I am going to start here. So here you see there are stitches on both sides of all the lines that I want stitches on. So I'm going to pull my pins out, and I am going to cut all of my pink lines. So here I've cut them in half, and that's fine. I can just cut my lines. And there, now we're down to quarters, and I still can cut my lines. And I'm going to say 1/8. You know what? I think I forgot to draw some lines. So here I have what I have sewn. Now, I need to draw some extra lines to make my 3.5 inch half square triangles. Now, where did my Frixion? There's my Frixion pin. Okay. So here I need that to cross there. All right, so there's a line here that will need to be cut. A line here that will need to be cut. A line here. And for these, it's easier to draw this line after the fact so that you don't get confused while you're sewing. Okay. And honestly, you probably will reach a point in your half square triangle journey where you will not have to even draw that line. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to cut along the line that makes the cross or the X, depending on how you look at it, or the T. That will put me with 4 different pieces or blocks to work with. All right, so here I can cut along that line, and I can turn, or if you'd rather just cut individually, that's fine too. And I can turn, and one more time. And here I have 8 half square triangle blocks. So each quadrant will make 8. And 8 times 4 is 32. Now I have a little trick to make my half square triangle trimming easier. This is called Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer. There are dashed lines on this ruler. I want to use the 3.5 inch dashed line because that is the size I want my half square triangle to be. So I am going to put my 3.5 inch dashed line on the seam line of my half square triangle. I am going to trim on the edge, and then I am going to trim these little dog ears. And here I have my half square triangle, and all I have to do is press. This is called a Steady Betty. It is made of a fabric that is sticky. I don't know how to describe it. It's not sticky to the touch like it makes your fingers sticky. It's just a sticky fabric. So when you press your half square triangles, and you want to press, you do not want to iron them, it doesn't allow your fabric to move. So when you're done, you have a beautiful half square triangle block. Those two things, the Clearly Perfect Slotted Trimmer and the Steady Betty, enable me to make perfect half square triangles every single time. So I am going to trim these all up, create all my half square triangle blocks, and I am going to show you all the different patterns that you can make. this, you can make pinwheels, chevron, zigzags, diamonds, stars, or you are not going to want to miss this. You can make pinwheels, chevrons, zigzag patterns, diamond and star designs. You could even make all the different blocks and have a sampler quilt. Let's see what these magical blocks can do. Now I want to share with you the designs and the secondary designs that are made when you put these blocks into a quilt. So the first one we'll do is the pinwheel. There's the block, and there is what a quilt looks like when made with multiple of those blocks. All right, did anybody figure out what the name of this one is? I know it has a name. Let's multiply it. Is that not just great? Just all the patterns that you see popping out. Here is our extended pinwheel. Multiply. Beautiful. It's just absolutely beautiful. And this is just with your red, cream, and blue. Imagine what it would look like with your favorite colors. Now here is a square in a square. Multiply. How awesome is that? You've got squares and squares and squares and squares that meet up in the middle of the squares in the square. It's awesome. Here we've got our really extended pinwheel. Now this one, it is very interesting. It is more of a retro or modern, which is just the opposite. Maybe it's both. Multiply. You could turn these pinwheels around, and who knows what all the designs you could come out with. Here are our multi-pinwheels. We multiply these, and we have lots and lots and lots of pinwheels. I don't think you can actually have too many pinwheels. Here is our star block. This one, your star is red. Let's multiply that and see what that looks like. Just gorgeous. So do you see why I call this block the most versatile block ever? Now, those are 3.5-inch half square triangles. You can actually make a quilt that is a block. So instead of using 3.5-inch half square triangles, you use big half square triangles. Let me show you what I mean. So here is a giant star block. And for the center block, I used a panel. One block, one quilt. You can also make bigger half square triangle blocks, and you can get a chevron pattern. Let's investigate the chevron pattern a little more. Now, I like to use 2 colors for the chevron pattern because it makes the chevron stand out. So essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bigger version of this half square triangle block. I am going to test cutting out triangles. Let's see. Okay, so this is my strip tube ruler, but it has a right angle. So I think if I line this up, I can get my half square triangles. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew along the long edge. Don't forget, chain piecing is your best friend, if you can find scissors. All right. So here I have 9.5 inch half square triangle blocks. These are a nice size to make a chevron pattern. So let's use our Steady Betty chain piecing, Steady Betty, and slotted trimmers make half square triangles way easy. All right, so let me press this seam, and I want to press to the dark side. And if your iron is on this, I mean, you cannot slide this iron. It's great. And we will be trimming these down. So I'm going to end up with a 9-inch half square triangle. So I am putting the seam along this line on my, this is a 10.5 inch ruler. Then I'm going to cut, and I don't put it quite to the 9-inch mark. Then I'm going to flip this around and do the same thing, only this time I'm going to line up my 9 inches Okay, I think I need to trim again. All right, so here. Okay, and actually, can I just flip this and make it 9 inches? Here we go. I have just a little bit to cut off the edge. So let's see, I should be able to put this on my block, and it is 9 inches, 9 inches. So I'm going to do the same thing with this block. Let's put this here. I am going to, let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to make it a little, I always get confused on how to do this. A little more than 9.5 inches. There we go. And then I'm going to trim 9 inches. Sorry, not 9.5, 9. And, okay. Now I can either flip my ruler or my block, and of course you can see I'm switching hands and all that, so I'm probably confusing you. Well, if you're right-handed, this was probably the way you need. So now I'm going to put this down my seam line. I want this to be 9 inches, and I want this to be 9 inches. So I trim what is outside the 9 inches, and that gets rid of my dog ears. So here I have two 9-inch blocks. Let's go to the design wall and I'll show you how to make a chevron. And let's see what we can make. How beautiful is that? A chevron pattern is so much fun. Don't underestimate the half square triangle block. You could use a half square triangle block in multiple sizes for the rest of your quilting hobby or career, and you would never tire. There are just so many wonderful patterns that you can make using this block. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Eat some chocolate and be kind to everyone. Until next time, bye. You're making it hard, buddy. He wants to be wherever it is I am cutting.